Hey, what's up everybody? You guys probably wondering, where's your Tekno been? Well, yeah, I've just been a little bit busy with the trophy truck. Been having too much fun with it, so haven't been able to race this much, but it's still been sitting here just waiting for its chance to get back on the track. But since the last time I made a video, I have made a couple changes to it. First, let's start out with just the visual changes. Decided to go without the air guards anymore. I just figured that the air guards didn't really do much, so there wasn't really a point of keeping them on there. So decided to take those off. I thought it kind of looked cooler with the sleek sides. So that's how I'm running that right now. I also trimmed the bumper. You can see that too, just the sides. I just thought that would look a little better too. And the ESC wires, that's another big thing. These have always been giving me trouble because I just never liked the color of them, and I've tried wrapping them in tape, heat shrink, all that kind of stuff. Just never really worked. It stayed put. So I bought this stuff from wirecare.com, and it's just flexible wire wrap. So it's pretty interesting. Here, let me show you. Alright, so it's an 1/8 inch size, but when you push it together it gets bigger, so it can slip over any heat shrink you have or solder joints, and it will close back up and stay tight on the wire. So it's pretty cool, and it's also really flexible, and it's also easy to cut with scissors. It does fray up a little bit, that's why you have to put heat shrink on the edges, but it really does clean up the look of the truck. If you want to keep all your wires one color, it really makes it look nice. So that's what I did to my ESC and motor wires. These were pretty easy, just slides on there, and you put heat shrink to keep it still. So yeah. Alright, that about covers it for the visual changes. Now let's go into more of the setup kind of stuff. First off, the shocks. I went to emulsion on the shocks. For that you have to cut out the bladder, but you still leave it in there. You just cut out the center section, and the air is now mixed with the oil, which gives it the emulsion feel. So it'll absorb smaller bumps and still dampen off bigger jumps. So that's a great feature that I like about emulsion, and it's pretty easy to build. You could look up a couple of videos on how to do it. It's pretty simple. Just make sure you know what you're doing, because once you cut it, if you don't have any extras, you can't go back. But I've only tested it on the backyard track a couple times. It was good there, but I need to actually try it on a bigger track to see how much it really did change. But now for the diffs. I left the front 7K. I made the middle 10K now, and the rear is 5K. These two are both associated oils. Found out that the front end was ballooning too much under acceleration, so I wanted to go with a thicker center diff, and then the rear end was a little loose, so I wanted to go up in the rear diff. But I looked up some more info about that, and I found out that the lower diff oil in the rear actually helps. So maybe dropping it down to 3K or maybe even 2K might help even better with the back wanting to go loose. So that's the diffs I'm running right now, and it's been pretty good. As you saw on the track video, even though it was a little loose, it still had enough control for me to drive it around. So a couple other things. I made the switch to the aluminum center drive shaft. I think it was about 15 bucks. It's really light. It's about half the weight of the stock one. It really reduces the rotating mass of the drive line and makes it even lighter. So that really does help to lower temps and the load on the motor. And speaking of temps, another reason to lower the temps was the heat sink. This is the Novak heat sink for their Havoc Pro motor, and had to make a couple changes to make it fit on this truck. First off, had to get it, and I had to stretch it wider so it could fit over this bigger can. Next off, I had to cut this notch for the wires, and then third, I had to cut out a notch here so it didn't hit the center brace. I'm not sure how the truck would handle without the center brace, but until I test it out, I'm just going to leave it on there. So I had to cut it so it didn't get in the way. But that heatsink and the center drive shaft really did lower temps a little bit. I would say about 20 degrees on average, so running a lot cooler, and I don't have to worry about it getting too hot or overheating. Before, I had some issues with my direct bullet plugs coming unsoldered because it was getting a little warm before I made these changes, so I've since switched to Dean's. I don't know why I didn't do this earlier, but direct plugs were easier at the time, and I thought it did make a difference, but once I made the switch back to Dean's, I didn't really see a power change, so that's what I've been using instead of the bullet plugs, and it's been a lot better, a lot easier, so I don't have to worry about it coming unsoldered or anything like that. So that's about it on the setup changes. A couple of stuff that I want to possibly upgrade in the future. Probably the chassis, because this thing is pretty beat up. Just take a look at it, it's pretty scratched. The rear end's probably still flush with the screws and not too low in the back. Kind of surprised. But yeah, it's pretty beat up, and possibly want to go to the lighter chassis. Maybe I heard about the new BCE chassis that they came out with. So there's a lot of different options I can go with, but until then I'm going to just keep this one. So, what else? Alright, right, the battery. Might want to get a new one, not to replace this one, just an extra one that I can use for mains, because this one's barely making 10 minutes, which is what all our tracks use. I wish they didn't, maybe. I prefer 7, but they run 10-minute mains, so that's what I gotta go for. And that's without any warm-up lap. So the 6400 on this truck with this system is barely making 10-minute mains with this battery. So I'm gonna look into a 7,000, maybe an 8,000 for the main, so I don't have to worry about it dumping out on me. So I can worry about finishing the race and push my truck hard. But that's pretty much the truck. All my changes to it from stock, and I like how it's handling on my outdoor tracks. Loose setup. But I can't really tell you the ride height on it right now, but it's good enough height where it's not hitting bumps and rocks and stuff. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little video, and